So, I've been asked to provide a little bit of context about using Flipper, the different scenarios, and just generally how I'm personally using it, maybe even a bit of history. So this is intended to be that. It starts with 7-zip actually. You wouldn't believe how often I'm asked what the hell this is and why does it not start. So for those people who don't know, the file that comes from the GitHub is actually an archive. You have to navigate to 7-zip website, 7-zip download, download their unarchiver, and then unarchive this thing. Only then you will be able to launch it. Again, you will be surprised at how often I'm asked this. I'm surprised at how often I'm asked this. Once it's unpacked, you have to launch an exe file and wait a little bit. Depending on if you are using SDD or an HDD, the initial phase of loading the application might vary in length. It needs to create these files, and on HDD it might be a little bit slow, but generally it's not that long. So let's try the basic scenario given my own favorite list. Here is my URL. I'm not ashamed putting that here. I don't have a lot of smut on my fave list, and the only thing I have is not that horrible, but it's bad. You put the URL into the profile URL. You name the list something. I usually name it rec current because I have a lot of them. I'll cover that later. And press get recommendations. And it says to you that it's not a correct author URL. In this case, probably I have forgotten something. Perhaps it's the slash. No. Numeric ID. What the fuck do you think it is? What? Oh, of course. Sorry. Copy pasting and all that. So it will wait for a while, depending on your network connection. It will ask you a bunch of things. First of all, it will ask you that is your profile is enabled. This is used if you say yes, this is your profile as tick mark here and assign like to fix. This will make sure that when it generates recommendations, your own profile on FunfictionNet isn't used for matching. This will make recommendations a little bit more precise. So if it's your profile, your processing, you should select yes. It usually takes a while. Depending on the size of your profile, it will take more or less. So here we have our recommendations. What else do we actually have? If you click advanced mode, you will see that it's loaded your FFN profile into this edit box. Currently, FunfictionNet has a bug going that will not show more than 500 favorites, and unfortunately right now it cannot read more than that. If you have more than 500, I'll explain what to do about it a little bit later. But the point is, it has loaded your favorite list here. And essentially what it did is then scan this edit for URLs and generated your recommendations from those. Nothing stops you from just opening this immediately without even providing your profile URL and just dumping a bit of URLs into this edit. It will work just as well, except you will have to use create recommendation list, and then you can select a little bit of different options, but I will cover that a little bit later. So once we have the recommendation list generated, what's important is that once it's generated, it's there on subsequent restarts. Let me close the application. Once it reopens, you can see that your recommendation list is named here, rec current. And if you just click search, it will bring up that same list again. You don't need to recreate it on the next restart. So, once you have created your recommendation list, what options do you have? Well, first of all, you don't even need to create your recommendation list. Flipper can be used as a search application without recommendations being used. You just have to select a valid sort order. For example, word count, Naruto with Harry Potter, for example. Harry Potter search. It will take a while because word count fetching is a little bit slow, but it will bring you all the Harry Potter Naruto crosses. If you don't want crosses, you just search for Naruto, and it will, or rather, if you don't want exact crosses, it will, you can search for Naruto, and you can see that I'm not exactly correct about this thing. Yeah, I have managed to mess up a little bit. I should have deleted this. It's a bug. I'll fix it. So yeah, we search a little bit, and we have Naruto, of course with crossovers. Blah 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 blah. A lot of Naruto. You can see that it has 2,216 pages of Naruto stories. Each page is 100 pixels long. Navigating is done by pressing arrows. It's not exactly instantaneous, but you can navigate, or you can just type the page you want to navigate to. For example, 5, and press enter. On the fix sheet, the titles are clickable. They will open fix in the browser, in your default browser. Also, the author names are clickable. They will open the author in the browser if it has ID for the author. It doesn't always have it because of the legacy condition of the database, but most of the time it does have IDs for authors. Here you can see that the fic has updated in the last year. It is indicated by the yellow pencil. If the pencil is green, it has updated within the last month, if I remember it correctly. If it's gray, the fic is dead for more than a year. You can see the maturity rating, the usual KTM. You can see if the fic is finished or not. Gray tick means that it's not finished. Green tick means that it's finished, like here. It displays when the fic was published and updated. It displays the fic's genres, and sometimes, if the fic is popular enough, it displays genres that are auto-detected, not the genres that author actually assigned to the fic. There's a little bit statistics involved here, but what you should understand is generally, sometimes the author says, hey, my fic is totally romance humor, and then you don't know how much humor is that in that fic, or how much romance, or if there is humor in this fic. So through a bit of statistics, I calculate the genre based on who favorited this fic. So if you double click on genre, see this is adventure friendship. That's what author stated that fic is. If you double click again, it is indeed adventure friendship. Except adventure is the main genre and friendship is solid but not the main focus. The detection is not always correct, but usually it's fairly decent. Like here, for example, adventure is a strong contender for main genre of this fic, and family has just minor elements. What else do we have here? We can see how many words the fic has. And here is a row of quick taggers. I will cover this in a little bit. You can press on the magnifier to bring up all the fics that I have from the same author in my database. You can see that those are fics from the same author. Pressing it again disables filtering and brings up default search again. which will take a little bit. You can hover over a copy button. This brings up QR code, which you can then use to queue stuff to read on mobile, to quickly do that. And I think everything else is a little bit more complicated, and I will explain it in a bit. So, we've created our recommendation list. If you want to see your actual recommendations sorted on how relevant they are, it's rec count. You need to select order by rec count and press search. Once you've done that, you can see that the most recommended fic to you is Harry Potter and Methods of Rationality. Not surprising, given that fic is really, really popular. I would say undeservedly so, but the fact is it's horrifyingly popular. So, here you see value of 3045. That's not quite the amount of people that favorited it. Let's get a little bit in depth of what this number means, really. Flipper works by taking your favorite list. Let me pick this. So it takes your URLs. It takes the parsed favorites of other people. In this case, currently it's 250,000 favorite lists of other people. And it matches them. It makes sure that, at least on default settings, that at least 6 fics between your favorite lists match. And it makes sure that in your favorite list there is at most 50 unmatched fics to 1 matched. That is to filter the noise a little bit, because sometimes there are huge favorite lists of 5,000 fics, and it's very probable that a favorite list like that has 6 matches with yours, but it doesn't mean that favorites from that are very relevant. So I filter both on minimum matches and unmatched matches. You can change these values while you create recommendation list. I'll explain how a little bit later. What's important now is, so we've generated our recommendations by matching this to other people. Then, depending on how close the lists of other people are to yours, each recommendation from them receives a different value, so to say. So in this case, 3045 is split between 699 average recommendation lists, average favorite lists. That is, favorite lists that aren't particularly close to you in comparison to something that is much closer to you. These receive 1 vote. 156 uncommon favorite lists. I'm kind of using loot boxes system here, actually, to provide an impression of how much score is assigned to people depending on how close their favorite lists are to yours. So uncommons receive just a little bit more votes than averages. It means that, for example, between something that has just 6 minimum matches and 50 unmatched fics to 1 matched, this receives one vote. Something that has 12 matches and 20 unmatched fics, this receives somewhat, and receives, let's say, 3 votes. And then there are near and closest that receive massively more votes. You can see that just 18 near votes received as much votes in this system as 156 uncommons. Those are massively closer to your favorite list. And closest are people that are incredibly close to your favorite list. These are people with like 1 to 3 unmatched, and so on. these receive hugely more points than everyone else. So this is how that value was generated. It just summed all of those customized votes and received a single number. This makes sure that fix coming from favorite lists closer to yours receive more attention than fix that are just favorited by more people. They have the chance to rise even above the most favorited fix. So, what else can we infer from the current search? When you've created your recommendations initially, chances are you also said assign like to fix, because this is ticked on by default. Once something is assigned liked, it also makes sure that all the fix in the search results, consequent search results, that are from the authors of the fix that you've liked are marked by the half red, half green heart. That is to give you a visual indication of the fix that you might potentially like because you've already liked fix from the author that's written that. Next, we have the ratio. Ratio is a little bit of a score that tells you how relevant is the fic, how much score points, and I mean recommendation score points, the fic has to one favorite on FanfictionNet. If it's something like 1 to 7, that's great. If it's something like 1 to 2000, well, that's not so great, really. That's often an indication that you should just skip the fic. It's not a 100% statistic, mind you. There are legit great fics that are generated with 1 to 2000. It just means that it's some obscure fandom. So, TLDR, don't trust the statistics always. This should be kept in context with everything else, but it somewhat helps. Then, so we've processed recommendation list, we generated it. If you even need Flipper, chances are that what you see right now on the screen you have seen thousands times already. You've seen all those fics, and the actual reason you are trying to use this application is because you're sick of seeing all those fics again. Let's clean up a little. In my case, for example, I don't like a lot of fandoms, or I'm not familiar with a lot of fandoms. Let's make sure they're not present in our recommendations. If you click on the fandom line under the fic title, it will place the fandom in the box here. If you click the second time, it will switch the fandom to the crossover fandom. With a little bit of exceptions, it works. You just should understand that with fandoms that have and sign in their name, it currently doesn't. It's a bug and it's a really low priority, but it's not like those fandoms are very important. So just toggle, and I don't like Dungeons and Dragons. Or rather, I'm not familiar with Dungeons and Dragons a whole lot. Let's tick that I don't want this fix and I don't want crossovers with this fix. Ignore fandom. It appears here. It means that from now on, when I press search or generate my recommendation, Dungeons and Dragons will not appear in the resulting list. Let's do it for a little bit more stuff. I do not care about Rosaria and Vampire. What else? What else? I don't remember. I don't care about Final Fantasy VII. I haven't played that, unlike 6 and 8. And well, I think that's enough, just to show you that. Let's research. Let's do this. Let's ignore Harry Potter just to demonstrate. Oh, you see this methods of rationality? It's going to vanish. It's vanished. So, ignored fandoms is a mechanism that allows you to filter out stuff from fandoms you don't like. and you won't read. Then there are fics that are from the fandoms that you will read. You have just either read them already or you don't want to read them. To categorize and hide this stuff, there is a row of quick taggers here. So let's say that you have read methods of rationality, and let's say you've liked it. Let's be realistic, more people liked it than not. If you press on this quick tag, it becomes green, and if you press search next time, you're not going to see this fic again. Point is, pretty much every time you press on one of these quick taggers, fics will never appear in your default searches again. It's one of the primary purposes of this quick tagger line. Let's go through it a little bit. Liked, that's obvious. Disliked, also obvious. Limbo is for fics that are dead. Note that you can assign more than one tag. So, for example, liked and limbo. Let's do it on something that actually deserves it. It's not limboed, but oh well. Liked and limboed. It means that you have liked this fic, and that it's dead. Limbo is to tag it so that you can return to it later. In case it somehow springs to life, you will be able to filter on that particular tag to see the fics that are possibly now alive. So if we go here, and if we select limbo here, note that it's become green, and we search, you see that Professor Arc is filtered. If you then filter on update date, you will be able to see the recently updated fics that you've limboed. Let's take off the tag, let's return to our recommendations, and let's research. So there are some fics that you just definitely won't read. In my case, that's Hill of Swords. I absolutely love how close to canon this thing is, despite it being Gabriel Blessing that I actually really like mostly, but this fic is just really not what I want to read. So you press trash, and again, hide, but it's really trash. And once again, once you press search, fic will disappear from search results. Then we have log, or math, depending on how you look at it. This is for fics that you really can't say that they are trash, but at the same time you look at their summary and say, no, I won't read it. So that's exactly what you do with those fics. You just tag them with log. They will disappear from results again, and you will be able to return to them sometime later. Clock is for fics that you look at the summary and say, this is maybe okay, but I will probably only bother to read it when it's finished. This is what I personally tag as clock. Once you do it, you can again select wait, and you will see those particular fics. Stem as a new quick tagger I have for stuff that is basically, I am very interested in those, and I will probably read those even though that they are really unfinished right now. I'm a person who tags a lot of stuff and has reading queue way more than I can manage. So I search for fix in this thing and I read much less than I tag. So I have a whole lot of fix marked as STEM because they are very interesting. I just don't have time to read them right now. Q is somewhat intersecting with STEM. It's fix that you mark as things you want to read. Finished is just that. You have finished with this fic. It doesn't mean that the fic is finished. It means that you've read it and you will not return to it. But you want to have an indicator that this fic has been already read by you. Gems is for stuff that barely has any favorites, but you still love it very much. It's for recommending stuff to other people. So if you come upon something that has like 5 favorites and you love it, and you want to be able to quickly bring up this fic and others like that for someone else, you just tag it with gems and then search on this tag. Now we come to this tag, rec. Note that it's not love, it's rec. Why is it tagged like that? So there is a little bit of distinction as far as I'm concerned. There are fics that you've liked but are guilty pleasures. There are fics that you've absolutely loved and want to see more of. This here is why rec tag exists. Personally, I tag everything that I want to use for further recommendation lists as rec. I do not make my further lists from liked, I make them from rec. So it's the second stage of like, and it's not like you should use it like that. You can imagine some other use for it, but I personally keep my own recommendation list source in this tag. I will show how it works a little bit later. Or rather, no, let's just show it while I'm at it. Let's open my own Flipper. You can see that there is a fuck ton of ignored phantoms. It's a side effect that you will also likely have because recommendation lists are fandom agnostic and there will likely be a lot of crap that you don't like in them because of their fandom. So about rec, let's filter on this tag. These are all fics that I've absolutely loved and want to see more of. $307. What I do is select this button, URLs for tag set. I click on this. What it does is copies all of the links for fics with that tag in my clipboard. I go advanced mode, I press Ctrl V, and here are all of those fics. I can then very quickly feed them into the recommendation engine to create a better, more refined recommendation list. So when you've tagged something else as a rec, you can immediately create a new list of URLs instead of reprocessing your profile. And from this, with create recommendation list, create a new list that picks more fics depending on how much more rec tags you've assigned. You can totally do this with more stuff. I'll come to that a little bit later. Let's return for a while to quick taggers. Tag series is for fics that are part of the series and you don't really care about reading the first one right now. For me, that just basically means immediate on hold. But I don't want to trash them because they might become relevant. So I just assign series to it. This here operates a little bit differently as evident from the tooltip. This is a quick shortcut for user-defined tags. I do not claim that these cover all of your tagging options. More than likely they don't. So you can totally create your own tag. Tag, for example, let's be honest, smut, because you'll totally have that tag. Once you've created that tag, it appears here. This is a tag selector that basically works the same way as quick tags. It just takes more time to assign. You just click on smut, and Fig receives smut tag on whatever else you have created. But opening this submenu each time is more than a little cumbersome. So you can just click on a magnet here. You will note that it's become red. And if you hover, God damn it. And if you hover over the magnet here, you will see currently smut. It means that magnet currently acts as a smut tagger. So if you press magnet on these figs, they will be assigned to the smut tag. Then you'll notice that there is a little break here. It is to signify that the next three quick taggers work a little bit different than the ones to the left. Ones to the left are just tags. Ones to the right of this break are tags with benefits, so to say. First is the bell. Bell is for figs that you have read to ongoing or that are dead. You press bell, and you see that it says snooze until next chapter. It means that it has already snoozed this fig until next chapter appears. You can optionally select until finished. The fig will disappear from your search results until it's finished. Or until chapter X, when you want some chapters to accumulate before continuing to read, and it cycles back to the next chapter. Once you've done it, if you press search, the fig will no longer appear until the condition is satisfied. Then we have notes. This I'm personally using for figs when, well, you can use it as reviews. You can use this as notes for figs. Personally, the real reason that I have added this icon is for figs that you feel like there will be a big break before you return to them, and you will forget what happened in the fig. So summary doesn't always jolt your memory enough, and you're kept in the dark until you've reread 2 or 3 or 5 chapters. So in this case, you can just press this button, and this happened, and this, and I'm stopping because blah blah blah. This is used to jolt your memory the next time you've returned to this fig. Just save it, and you can see that your kinda review here is there. Reading is a quick tag that basically operates as everything else. I have just moved it to the right because it opens the chapter selector, and I don't like the other tags moving around. So you press it, you will be able to filter on this tag by selecting reading, but at the same time you can select, for example, I'm reading chapter 5, and from this is used both as a reminder wherever you've last read this fig, and the next time you press on the title, it will open it on chapter 5. So that has been quick taggers. Then let's see what else do we have here. Let's explain the filters a little bit. Ordering can be selected in this combo box. We have word count, both ascending and descending. It's regulated by direction. Favorites on fanfiction.net. Favorite. It's used to bring up the hottest recent fix. In a little while, yeah. As expected, Professor Art 2 is the hottest recent fix. It's not surprising. Favorite works as a relative amount of favorites relative to how long has the fic been running, and only for fics that have been published since the last year or so. Update date, you can see what's in the database and has been updated the most recent. It's not very fast, but mostly because I'm not using current rec list. So because it has right now it has to search through the whole database, but it can do this. Same for publish date. Rec count is what you do when you want to search in your recommendation list. VCR, oh my god, is basically word count to review count. It's largely useless, but it's something that I've stumbled on the internet, and I thought that that was a fun sort order to implement. You can see for yourself how it operates and what it brings up. And your score will be explained a little bit later. It's an advanced thing. We have sorters on minimum and maximum word count. So for example, 50,000 words and at most 400,000 words. And you can sort in that. Then we have blacklist matches. This means that if you tick this thing and say like 100, it will only show fics that have at least 100, a score of at least 100 in your recommendation list. This is used to cut riffraff. Amount of favorites on FFN. Honestly, it's the filter that I'm never using. It's, in my opinion, completely useless. Then you have fandom ignore. You can tee it off if you want to search also in the fandoms that you have ignored already, without removing them from ignores. We have slash filter. I will come to that later. But generally, if you tick it off, you will have a lot more slash in your recommendations than you would probably like. You have tag filters. This will be ticked on immediately, automatically after you tick something in tags. If you tick it off, it means that even if something is selected in tags, it will not be used. No genre, if you tick it off, it will filter out all the fics that the author didn't bother setting genre for. It's less useful now that I have an genre auto detection, so you probably won't ever touch this. Tagged is used if you want to search on everything that you have tagged already, so everything, pretty much everything here. It will bring up stuff you've liked, stuff you've read, stuff you've viewed, everything. It just means ignore whatever tags I have assigned and just bring up everything that is searchable through other search options. For example, if we select rec count now, you will see that methods of rationality is likely all again visible, though it's likely not at the top, because you will see right now in a little bit, hopefully. A second. This is a little bit of complicated filter here, so it's taking its sweet time. Probably needs some kind of optimization. And hopefully didn't die. Okay, I say screw it, probably, and relaunch. It probably needs some kind of optimization here. It's more than likely min words and max words. And I hope server is still alive. So again, let's press tagged without all the other filters. And it will hopefully be able to bring it up. Yes, it can now. Yeah, like I said, Harry Potter and the Methods of Rationality is back, just because we pressed tag. It means ignore the ignores, so to speak. Then we have search in ignored. That will search only in ignored fandoms. Honestly, I haven't used that like ever. It's just there to take space and probably be removed later. If you tick off unfinished, it will not show unfinished fix in your recommendations. Unfinished and inactive, to be precise. Like you see here, it's not exactly very obvious, but it's for fixes that are not finished and likely aren't going to be finished. If you tick on the active, it will only show fixes that have been active in the last year. Only completed, again, will only show fixes that are completed. Of course, you can combine these, unless it's something like min words, marked words, and tagged, and the server dies. But normally it doesn't. Normally it works okay. So let's reset it. Reapplying default mode will reset the text boxes to their default state. Then we have searches on words and genres. Keep in mind that searching on words will only work if you also selected fandom. It's currently a limitation of the way it's all been set up. So if we want, for example, something with OP Naruto, we can totally search for that. Now the question is, why would we want that? But that's another question. Again, it will take some time. And here we are. OP Naruto. Here we are. You can also exclude words, of course. Same for genres. You can totally search for adventure. Adventure and without drama, please. Search. And it will bring up only adventures without drama. One caveat of this search is that we all know that authors tend to mistag their fix. So something tagged as adventure can totally be something like romance, and vice versa. What you can do about it is use implied genre. This will use auto-detected genres instead of the ones that author assigned for search. This has a drawback in that auto-detected genres are available only for like a tenth of the database. The database is like 4 million fix from fanfiction.net, and auto-detected genres are available for 500k, I think. But those 500 are basically the fix that matter the most. So it's totally better to search on implied genre than just search on genre. And then you can even select how much genre you do want. So you can select fix with a considerable presence of humor, for example. and just minimal presence of drama in narrative. Let it work a bit. Double click on generate to bring up the auto detect generate, and you can see that all the fixes that we see now are major humor fix with no drama or just a tiny bit of drama like this. It's auto detected again. So basically what it means auto detected is that the fic is on considerably more humor-based lists than it is on drama-based lists. It's still noticeable. There are a fair amount of drama-based lists that this fic is on, but there are more, and there are more important lists that this fic is on humor lists and romance lists. It's how auto detection for genres basically works. What next? You can quickly bring up a fic based on its ID if I have it in my database. Oh, yeah. If a fic is somewhat popular, I likely have it in my database. If an author is somewhat popular, I also likely have it in my database. But if it's something very obscure and unpopular, the chances are it will not appear if you press search. Also, I think my CPU is doing something a bit slow. So if I bring up the search, you see that the story with this ID appears in the search. And something is really slowing up my flipper. I definitely have to restart it. I have no idea what's running in the background, but it's something horrible. Maybe I've been recording too long. Then we've come to somewhat interesting stuff and more advanced stuff. First on the agenda is random mode. It's personally something that I'm using a lot. Let's open up my own flipper to demonstrate. Under the search button, we have this tick random fix. If you press here and select your account and press search button, it will bring 6 random fix from your recommendation list. This is essentially a way to de-bias recommendation lists. When you generate recommendation list, it does not generate just 100 fix that it shows you by default. It generates all the fix that are reachable through favorites that are close to yours and stores it on your computer. If you want to find hidden gems, the chances are they are not at the top of your recommendation list. Chances are they are buried very, very deep, and looking into that list deep enough is usually not very easy or unbiased when you have to do it by hand. This is the problem that random mode solves. It will bring up 6 totally random fix that you haven't yet tagged on your recommendation list and lets you have an unbiased look from them. So for example, here are the 6 totally random fix. You can see that they are not the fix from the top of recommendation list. Top had 4,000 at the highest score. This has only 9. It doesn't mean that the fic is crap. It means that it's somewhat buried, and chances are it's not very good, but there are definitely good fics in that. So let's go from the beginning, from the bottom, and do what I usually do. So first, Hobbit, low priority. Romance, drama, very low priority. It's stuff I absolutely don't read. But it's finished, and let's see. Set after events of soul healing. Okay, it's fic I haven't read. Let's press G. I will likely not return to this thing. Next, anime for X overs. Interesting. Possibly slash. White S means that it is tiny bit possible that it is slash. If you see red S or red S in a circle, it's definitely slash. White S is more of a guideline. It tends to also mark a lot of crack fixes as slash. So take it with a grain of salt, especially if your recommendation list doesn't have a lot of slash because you don't read it. White S is just a guideline. It doesn't mean that it's slash. You just should read the summary. What we have for that? Inuyasha has fallen deep illness. It's Inuyasha. Okay, strike down. It's a short Inuyasha. It's over. No. I don't think I will read it. And it also doesn't have a detected genres. You can see that there are no indicators, which means that I do not have the statistics for that. And it only has one person who has favorited it and recommended it in my recommendation list out of 56 favorites it has. No, it's trash. I don't mean that the fake is trash. It's for me, it's trash. I just dump it in the trash bin and never return to it again. Then we have something potentially interesting, but dead. It hasn't been updated. Honestly, I'm rather interested in Alucard in the next generation, especially with you, so I would probably mark it as something like this, with a very low priority. You can see that there are half transparent stars here. Those can be used as scores, but those can also be used as priority. I personally use it as priority. So when I take it like this, and then I return to the stack and search on this and press your score, it will sort on my queue. Except I should have ticked off random fix. Let it work for a while and just return to that in a bit. Something is wrong today with this server. It should not be taking this long. I'll have to debug the problem. It definitely should not be taking this long. Ouch. It really doesn't want to work today. Let's restart. Usually it doesn't work like that. Horribly like that. But something is very likely clogging the server right now. Let's search on my score again. And on the style. So here we have the fix that I'm interested in reading. You can see that they're tagged as STEM and they're tagged as very high priority, and it's just going low and lower and lower and lower. It's basically my reading queue. It's the way I prioritize it. I'll return to that. Right now, I'm just demonstrating a little bit ahead while showing how random fix work. I should have selected. Oh, then sometimes you forget to deselect the filter options and it bites you in the ass. Unfortunately, I haven't really thought what to do about that. Especially now, since it doesn't really want to filter on score without tag. Okay, this is not going very well, but oh well. Re-recording this is too much of a pain. Oh my god. This thing remembers most of your selected options between restarts. In this case, it remembered the sort order, and it's totally not what I wanted. Remember, if you want to search on random fix only in your recommendation list, there are two ways to do that. Either select rec count or select something else and tick only in current rec list. Those are more or less equivalent, except if you tick this thing, you can also set something else. I will come to that later. You can set a different sort order. That is very useful. I'll just come to this a little bit later. How much do I have been recording? Oh my god, it's an hour long. No one will listen to this. Okay, let's return to rec count. Random fix, go. So random mode. Again, you just go through these 6 and tag them as you please. You tag them, tag them, tag them, tag them. And you get all 6. You have read perhaps, selected and read perhaps some of them. Some of them you tagged as loved, but in the end you've finished with them. Chances are you haven't read any of these, you just tag them. You can just press search again. And you have a new selection of 6. This allows you to have a constant stream of new recommendation score agnostic fix. Personally, I use this feature a lot because it lets me find a lot of hidden gems that I wouldn't have found otherwise. In fact, I only read from the top of my recommendation list when I'm on mobile, because I don't have a mobile lint and like you big fix for that. When I totally read mostly smaller fix at home via this random browsing. If you find something that through that recommendation search that is very interesting and you want to know what else that person who have favorited it also favorited, you can double click on the heart. Except it's my version and it doesn't really work. Let's fire something that doesn't have the setting that changes the behavior of this thing. Hello. Here we are. Recount, random fix. Again, 6 random fix. So you found this fix and it turns out that you like it and you want to see what else the person that favorited it also favorited. Double click on the heart. It will think for a while and bring up the list of fix that the person or persons that have favorited it also favorited. So if there is more than one, let's return to the random browsing mode and demonstrate. For example, here are 2 people that favorited this fix. Misunderstandings have been favorited by 3 people. There are score factory that made sure that it has score of 2, not 3. You just double click on this heart, wait a little bit, and you see a merged lists of everyone who favorited that fix. It's sometimes useful when you want to see, you find something very absolutely great but with barely any favorites, and you ask yourself a question. So this fix has come to me from favorite list of someone else. What else that someone else have favorited that might be just as great? So you double click on the heart and you are getting that exact favorite list in your search options with pre-filtered fix that you have already favorited, tagged, and so on. in this case, you can see that there are 3 IDs here. This means that 3 people favorited that thing. To continue browsing, you need to toggle off those recommenders. And I think this combo box has some problem. Not that when you tick off stuff, it means that even if it's filled, it's not used. So unless words is ticked on, OP Naruto doesn't work. Then, let's explore a little bit what happens and how you find new and good fics to read. So about updates. Updates to Flipper database happen approximately once in 4 weeks. And there is currently no indicator saying that you should probably either jump on my Discord, where I typically say about this, or track the Space Battles forum thread, where I announce that update has happened. But in general, it's safe to say that after a month, I will load new fics into the database. When that happens, what you should do is you bring up your fics that you are using for your recommendation list for tag set. You feed them into the edit. Tick the settings that you're interested in and press create recommendation list. Note that even though your fics might be the same as the ones that you have used for recommendation list prior to that, the database has changed. And when you recreate a recommendation list, it means that it will pull those new fics into your recommendations. So you should do that approximately once a month. It will pull new fics, and it will also check the favorite list. So there are people, if they have favorited something else, even that it's old, it will just recalibrate your recommendations. So this is our new recommendation list. After that, you select only in current recommendation list and select publish date. What it does, it will show only the fics that not only, it will show the fics that are in your recommendation list in reverse order of them being published. I mean, basically the freshest ones. What we see here is the latest database update was on 20th of April. And these are the fics that are in your recommendation list that have been published in April and before. This basically means that you can go down through that and see what else new and interesting have been favorited. Now, you can totally do that without your recommendation list, but with your what I found myself is that when you are doing that through this search option, it's quite often that those fresh fics have more chance to be good than fics from your recommendation list with very little, with very small score. Small score on the most recently published fics doesn't mean that they're as bad as the ones that have been on fanfiction.net for years and have the same score. It's quite often that in this stream of the recently published fics, 1 in 2, 3, 4 is good, whereas fics with just 1 to 3 scores that have been on fanfiction.net for quite a while, chances are 1 in 20 is something that you want to read. So this mode, only in rec list and publish date, is definitely something that you should be using often. And it's definitely a good way to find stuff to read. Then we have a little bit of trickery to make sure that your recommendation list is more precise and has better quality than average. Those settings, 6, 40, in this case 50 plus default, are default settings. If your favorites on FanfictionNet are big, so something upwards of 200, 300, 400 figs, it means that there are lists that have much more than 6 matches with yours. When you create recommendations, there is an invisible handle at the bottom of the recommendation stream that you can drag out. Here you can see how much favorite lists each match count produced. So if you see something like that, and you see that even if you set 13 matches as minimum, and you will still have a lot of matches to spare, you can totally say, I only want lists that match at least 13 figs, and recreate. What it does is filters out a lot of lists that are not as greatly matched to yours as you would like. And in general, this makes a better recommendation list than just using default 6. It will also make shorter recommendation lists, so you will not have as much figs, but in general, the quality of your recommendations will only go up. Except right now it has problems with that for some reason. Probably some filter mode. I have been having more problems while recording this video than I've ever had while actually using this thing. It's probably the publish date sort. I'm just using some modes that are not often used together, which is bringing up all sorts of bugs. Oh, it's finished. Good. So you can see that this list is a little bit different. The previous list had like 4,000 or something at highest scores, and this has much less. That's because there are much less people matched to yours. This has multi-pronged effect on your recommendations. First, there are less people. Then it rebalances what is considered close and near close matches. And just in general, this means that your recommendations are higher quality. So I recommend that you definitely drag this thing up and see how much you can trim and what to trim. While we are on the subject of custom recommendation lists, it should be noted that you can totally manipulate what you feed into recommendation list to bring up specific stuff that you want. Let's say you have a tag crack. This tag is used to mark figs that are crack figs. I have a lot of those, more than 300 in fact. If you just select URLs for this tag set and feed those into recommendations and name the list something else, crack list, for example. No, the sources are all crack. So chances are that the favorite list, that recommendation list that you will get once you create this button, will be full of crack, unlike what you would have gotten if you just processed all of your recommendations on FanfictionNet. This lets you manipulate a recommendation list system to produce recommendations for the particular sort of fig. What it definitely works for is crack. I can attest to that. It also works on for smut. If you have a bunch of fixed smut that you have a toggle tagged as smut, and you feed them here, you will be drowned. Honestly, you'll be drowned in smut. Then, so right now, I have created a different recommendation list than the one that I've had previously. The one that I had previously was called rec current. As you can see, you can totally have more than one. In fact, you can have as much as you want. Within reasonable limits, because this bloats your database file. And once you select this in the combo box and press search, it only, if you are using rec count, it will only search within that recommendation list. And it will bring up recommendation values from that recommendation list. And I think I'm going. Okay. What else can I say here? These are not very important. These will this will only show fix from particularly close matches. It basically works in tandem with this. So extremely similar will only show fix present on the purple lists. You see that there are just two favorite lists that match the purple criterion. So if I select extremely similar and press search, it will only show fix that are on those two lists. Like you see, there is just 200 or something. These work as filters for fix, so that you can check only fix that are present on very, 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 very similar lists to yours. I do not use this often, it's just there for it to be there. Then this button brings up into your clipboard all the fix that have been used in the creation of the list. So if I press this button, I will have all the fix that went in the creation of rec current. What else? Let's check my own manual to see if I've missed something. Random, yes. Decent new stuff, yes. Oh, yes, of course. So let's say I have liked tag, or not, rec tag. This is my own client, so I have a lot of fix tagged rec. If I tick this box, it will, and press search, it will not show fix tagged as rec. Instead, it will show fix from the authors whose fix I've tagged as rec. This is another way to filter out good stuff, because chances are fix from the authors whose fix you already liked are also good. Of course, it can be used with random fix, it can be used with other filters, and so on and so forth. It's another fun modes. Fig ratings I have already showed more or less, but generally just you queue stuff to read. For example, you are in random mode, you find some fig that you want to read. I say random mode and untagged, please. Find something that you want to read, you come on. Oh yeah, I think I know what's the problem. Relaunch. You find something that you want to read, you tag it as such, you tag it as much rating as you're interested in reading this fic. If you're highly interested, you tag it with 5 stars. If you're barely interested, you tag it as 1 star. And just in general, this is a way to categorize your reading queue. If you've loved the fic and read it, you can just totally use it as a rating. So for rec, these 5 stars are meant not a priority, it's just pure rating that you've used. If you have some thoughts about this fic, that strong opinions about this fic, you can totally type it there for later reference and save it. Then let's return to slash filter for a little while. Flipper uses somewhat intelligent slash filter in that it doesn't only detect slash in the summaries, it not only detects slash, yaoi, character tags like HPLV, but it also does some statistics and also excludes slash that doesn't mention anything in the summary but is slash indeed also. If you like to read slash, I don't blame you, but I know that you probably don't want this ticked on. So if we filter on word count without slash filter, and wait for a while. Just a little bit. It's a word count. It always takes a while. Let's go. Wait, word count is a bad filter for that. Let's go with favorites. So, if you like to read slash, you tick off slash filter, and you see those fics as in a circle, 100% slash. This thing definitely has something that tags it as slash in the fic list. In this case, it's /HP. Let's go somewhat deeper. Slash. I want to catch another type of slash detection. Here, red slash without circle. Almost 100% slash based on statistics. It's usually fairly accurate. If there is white S, I definitely have seen white S here. The chances are it's slash, but it's often flaky. It also takes a lot of crack fixes as slash. It doesn't mean that I pick a slash, but there is a chance. As you can see here, Harry Potter, Rabastan, Lestrange. I don't have this tagged, but it has still been detected as somewhat likely to be slash. If you really love slash, you can just reverse the direction of slash filter here and display only slash. Then refilter. And for whatever reason, it doesn't quite work, or at least it doesn't quite display what I want. Weird. Last time I've tried it's been working. Oh, okay. Slash filter. Remember, for slash filter to work in whatever direction, it has to be working. Yeah, like this. Slash filter only slash enable slash filter, and then, as you can see, your list consists of only slash. That's what you should do for that. Then Not particularly important. Implied search, yes. Metadata displayed, yes. Yes, yes. I think that I have went... Oh no, not everything. There is also this tab. I totally forgot about this. It's not exactly very useful, but it's fun to have. It displays the statistics first. It displays the statistics for the fix currently in your search. It says how much fix are there, how much words are there, the range of published for this fix, earliest, latest, sizes, moods, neutral, sad, happy. It's for 72% of neutral fix. Genres, these are not auto-detected, I think, and which fandoms went into this fix. So if you want to see what exactly is your favorite list like, you can do filter on rec. I forgot to tick off something. In this case, /filter. Yeah, you can see that my favorite list consists of this: 34 Harry Potter, 25 Naruto, etc., etc., and you also need to untick page size. It will bring up to 5,000 fix at a time. Yeah. So in reality, my favorite list look like this. These are the fandoms that are there. And you can see that my favorite list is mostly crack. Humor 66%. There are not a lot of people that have this distribution of crack in their favorite lists. Then, whenever fanfiction.net decides to unfuck up their favorites display, you have favorites compare. You can see how much in common users have. You feed it to recommendation lists, you press compare, it crunches on that a bit and displays what do they have in common. In this case, I brought up random fav list that is not very representative, unfortunately. Let's do something a little bit more relevant, probably. Yeah, so between me and that other guy, these are the stories we have in common. What else? You can filter on non-crossovers, only on non-crossovers. You can filter only on crossovers. You can set exact crossovers. You can set direction of search, so you can totally search on the earliest fix, so earliest published in the database. And I probably need to tick off recommendations. These searches on non-recommendation lists usually take a while. So you can see that the earliest fix I have in my database are from 1998. And I think that more or less finishes this. Holy hell, that's been an hour and a half. Like, I fully expect no one to read, to watch up to this point. If people have any questions, if there is any hero that reached this point, please jump into my Discord and say this. I would be very amused. But that's basically Flipper in a nutshell. It has a lot of stuff to use. It's really cool, and it should be used over fanfiction.net search instead of it any day. It's just a little bit too complicated for it to sound good. But I love it all the same. That's it, I guess.